Talking about a revolution sounds. Don't you know? Talking about a revolution, it sounds like a whisper. While they're standing in the welfare lines, crying the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the uniformed lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know? Talking about a revolution sounds. Who are people gonna rise up and get their share? Who are people gonna rise up? Take what's there. Don't you know you better run, 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 run. Oh, I said you better run, 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 run. It's finally the table are starting to turn. It's finally the table are starting to turn. It's finally the table are starting to turn. It's finally the table.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, the 20th day of October. The year is 2014, and if you can hear the sound of my voice, then you are the revolution. I am Smokin Joe Mekhael, and this is the revolutionary nightly news smashing through the lies of the New World Order, Illuminati, government, who are heaping their attacks upon us on a daily basis, coming out with things that are even more ludicrous, even more diabolical, even more deadly. And it boggles the mind. I had a big weekend, and obviously not doing these videos on the weekend, and it's really sobering to come back on a Monday and look at all this news and to understand that this is the world that we live in. And the only way to change the world for the better is for us to make it happen, for us to join together and spread truth and love and peace and freedom. And even though we face what looks like insurmountable odds, we need to keep faith and we need to keep putting action behind our faith. A lot of you might know what I'm talking about. After a really big weekend, you might not feel like dealing with reality. You might want to escape. But it is important for us to deal with reality, despite how ludicrous it may seem. Let's get right into the news. US is responsible for the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. Liberian scientists. This article from globalresearch.ca. Dr. Cyril Broderick, a Liberian scientist and former professor of plant pathology at the University of Liberia's College of Agriculture and Forestry, says the West, particularly the US, is responsible for the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. Dr. Broderick claims the following is an exclusive article published. So he claims the following in an exclusive article published in the Daily Observer based in Monrovia, Liberia. He wrote the following. The US Department of Defense is funding Ebola trials on humans, trials which started just weeks before the Ebola outbreak in Guinea and Sierra Leone. The reports continue and state that the DoD gave a contract worth $140 million to Techmira, a Canadian pharmaceutical company, to conduct Ebola research. This research work involved injecting and infusing healthy humans with the deadly Ebola virus. Hence, DoD is listed as a collaborator in a first-in-human Ebola clinical trial NCT02041715, which started in January 2014, shortly before an Ebola epidemic was declared in West Africa in March. This is a hoax, Ebola. They have cooked up this disease and they have released it now. And what's worse than the disease is the fear-mongering and the increased government controls that they're going to look for as a result of them releasing this biological weapon. And People are going to go along with it, but I urge you, do not go along with this. Do not take the vaccine that's coming, because they're talking about vaccines from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease. Rabies vaccine protects non-human primates against deadly Ebola virus. And from the same government agency, National Institute of Health grants license agreement for candidate Ebola vaccines. This is from Wednesday. Ebola vaccines based on established rabies vaccine may protect against both diseases. Ebola and rabies. Does that sound familiar to you? You seen a movie called 28 Days Later, where there's a rage virus that's come about through the Ebola and the rabies virus? They have been predictive programming for this for a long time. I saw 28 Days Later last night to refresh my memory, and it's disgusting how they get people ready for this kind of thing. And other ridiculous zombie movies like World War Z and Contagion, both recent films, both predicting this horde of zombies, and the only way to protect yourself is to get the government vaccine. But I'm telling you, you should not get the government vaccine, because they are running this, and this is a massive, massive attack on humanity. And the BBC reports Canada to ship Ebola vaccine to the World Health Organization. The effectiveness of the Canadian vaccine in humans is not yet known. Canada is to ship 800 vials of its Ebola vaccine to the World Health Organization. The jab can completely protect animals from a fatal dose of the Ebola virus. However, its safety and effectiveness in humans is unknown. Just have a look at how they're attempting to make this spread, how they're attempting to make this really huge. From DCGazette.com, US Army warns of airborne Ebola. In a handbook published by the US Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases, it includes a chapter discussing viral hemorrhagic fever, a category of viruses that includes Ebola. In a portion of that chapter, it states, in several instances, secondary infections among contacts and medical personnel without direct body fluid exposure have been documented. These instances have prompted concern of a rare phenomenon of aerosol transmission of Ebola. And even though it may be airborne, even though it looks like it's pretty easy to catch this thing, all someone has to do is sneeze on you, or you have to be somewhere in the vicinity of their bodily fluids. That's if it's not airborne. But the 101st Airborne won't get protective hazmat suits for Ebola mission in West Africa. Troops from the 101st Airborne Division will not receive protective hazmat suits for their mission in West Africa. The 101st Airborne is a US Army modular light infantry division trained for air assault operations. The division was renowned for its role on D-Day. Major General David H. Petraeus led the Screaming Eagles to war in 2003 during Operation Iraqi Freedom. The administration says they won't need them. Nashville Public Radio reported troops from the 101st Airborne Division leading the military response to Ebola in West Africa will only need gloves and masks to protect themselves from the deadly virus, so said General David Rodriguez at a Pentagon briefing Wednesday. They don't need the whole suit as such, because they're not going to be in contact with any of the people, the commander of the US troops in Africa said. Soldiers from the 101st Airborne will primarily be building hospitals, ultimately leading what could be a contingent of 4,000 American service members. They'll be housed either in tent cities and military airfields or in Liberian Ministry of Defense facilities, Rodriguez said. And here's the key, I was about to skip past that. Soldiers' health will be monitored through surveys and taking their temperature on their way in and out of camps. If a service member does get sick, Rodriguez said they will be flown home immediately for treatment. So this is what they're trying to do. Send soldiers over there so they can control the resources in West Africa, which is very oil rich and very diamond rich, in Sierra Leone especially. And they want to get the troops to get sick, bring it over, infect people in America, so they can raise the hype, raise the tension, raise the fear, and then raise people's hopes that there's going to be a vaccine. And then they're going to get people to raise their arm to line up to get jabbed with this deadly, excuse me, biological weapon. Don't fall for this. Have a look at how they're making this spread on purpose. Ebola lockdown. British plan to send 3,000 UK troops into Sierra Leone to set up military blockades to restrict movement in attempting to stop the virus spreading. Carnival cruise ship returning to dock in Texas after Ebola concern. Both Mexico and Belize refused to allow the ship to dock. But of course they can dock back in America because the American government is trying to make it spread. Hey, you're looking for work? If you're over there in the United States, at New York especially, I know the economy is rough, and I really shouldn't even joke about this. This is ridiculous, but sometimes we try and find humour. But this is such a deadly serious situation. Wanted Ebola screeners at JFK for $19 an hour. They're looking for the few, the proud, and the really desperate. For a measly $19 an hour, a government contractor is offering applicants the opportunity to get up close and personal with potential Ebola patients at JFK Airport, including taking their temperatures. Angel Staffing Incorporated is hiring brave souls with basic EMT or paramedic training to assist Customs and Border Protection officers and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in identifying possible victims at Terminal 4, where amped-up Ebola screening started on Saturday. EMTs will earn just $19 an hour, while paramedics will pocket $29. Everyone must be registered with the National Registry of Emergency Medical Technicians. What a joke. $19 an hour. And this is such a devastating attack on humanity. Not only the virus. I haven't seen anyone die of Ebola. I don't know what the real story is. But the fear and the hype that they're using only points to bad things. US humanitarian aid going to ISIS. Not only are foodstuffs, medical supplies, even clinics going to ISIS, the distribution networks are paying ISIS taxes and putting ISIS people on their payrolls. Sure, you know that the CIA, America, the Western governments and their allies are funding Al-Qaeda and turning them into ISIS so they can destabilize the whole region. And they continue the divide and conquer, the clash of civilizations strategy to divide people. Paris Opera expels veiled woman during performance. And on the other side, in Iran, bad hijab linked to acid attacks on Iranian women. A series of acid attacks on women in the historic Iranian city of Isfahan have raised fears and prompted rumours that the victims were targeted for not being properly veiled. So either you're going to be targeted by society for wearing a veil, or in this part of society you're going to be targeted for not wearing a veil. They want people, poor people, to be killing each other, poor people to be hating each other, poor people to be fearful of each other. They want people all over the world to be so afraid that they feel powerless. But I'm telling you, you have power. You have all the power of your ancestors in your heart, in your soul. And I call on you to use that power to look through the lies and to spread the message of love around the world, the message of freedom. Britain threatens internet trolls with 2 years in jail. Just another way to take away our free speech. If you say something on the internet, they call you a troll, you're gone. They're going to lock you up. From San Francisco, CBS Local. University of California, San Francisco study links soda to premature aging, disease, and early death. It's a multifaceted, multi-pronged, full-spectrum attack that we are facing. The food, the water, the air, the media. Everything is designed to weaken your health, weaken your immunity, weaken your mind. So you don't want to fight back. But I call on you to fight back, because if we don't fight back, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And we may not even have the opportunity to express ourselves in the way that I'm doing now. So I call on you to stand up before it is too late. Family sues police for brutality. Cop pulls out gun over seatbelt violation. An incident one family is calling police brutality has led to a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the Waycross Police Department. On January 18th, high school senior Montre Merritt was pulling into his driveway and home and was asked to pull over by a Waycross police officer. The officer then got out of his vehicle and pointed a gun at the teen's head, instructing him to get on the ground and then handcuffing him. When Merritt's mother came outside to see why her son was being arrested, the officer said her son had a seatbelt violation. So this is the police state they're looking to. They want police to be so militarized, to be looking at the public as an enemy. And I have a bachelor degree in policing and criminology that I finished back in, 2004, 2005? Even back then, they were pushing police to be this paramilitary group that has disdain for the people they police. They see you as an enemy and themselves as soldiers. Sickening video. Disturbing video of Claiborne, Texas, shows a police officer coaxing what appears to be a completely calm dog towards him before opening fire. This is disgusting. And these are the type of psychopaths that they are putting in power. And they have no power. The police have no power. They are illegitimate. No man has a right to tell another man what to do. I want people to take care of themselves. I want people to be honest, to have integrity. I don't want them to follow bogus laws that are designed to keep you as a slave and to keep a certain number of people as the masters. And they're going to keep cracking down until they squeeze us out of existence. But I'm not going to allow that to happen. Just look at what's happening around us with the police state. Another video from America. Police stop a couple who were driving to the hospital because she was giving birth to a baby. Made the woman get down. My apologies, my memory card was full. I had to delete a couple of things. Moving on with this police state news. This very disturbing video of this woman and her partner who were surrounded by all of these cops, forced to get on the ground, even though she was going to the hospital, having a baby. She was pregnant, and the cops, it's like they couldn't see that. This is the type of tyranny that is going to be a daily occurrence once they implement a further police state. Once they get people so scared of Ebola and war and Muslims and the boogeyman that they will accept any level of government control just to survive. Because that's all people want to do. They want to survive. They don't want to thrive. They don't want to prosper. If it's easier for them, if it requires less effort just to get by, that's what they want to do. That's the majority of people. That's not you. You have this beautiful blessing called critical thinking, where you don't believe the garbage that comes out of the television, where you don't believe the propaganda that is spewed forth 24 hours a day, where you see that something's wrong, where your intuition tells you that this doesn't add up, that it's not right for police to shoot people's dogs, that it's not right for the government to create diseases in labs and then spread them around the world, that it's not right for people to be killed all over the planet for no reason. Let's look at this video.
Passenger in his vehicle. He is on 911 with me at the time.
Put your hands up! Put your hands up now! Kyra, put your hands up! Put your hands up! Oh my God, having a baby for Christ! Put your hands up behind your head! We're hopping up! 2949 send fire rescue here right now. Send fire rescue. Get over here! Come here! Oh my God! Come on! Come on! Put him in cuffs! Baby! No, you cannot put him in cuffs! I'm right with her. You're not going anywhere. You're either going to go to the hospital with us or you're going to wait. He is not going. He is under arrest right now. Do not touch my face, okay? Calm down. I know you're... We'll put him in cuffs and we will take him there. But he is going to be in cuffs. Will you listen? Go. 2129 Fort Dodge. 2111 is going to take her.
These are the psychopaths that we're dealing with. And it makes me so sick to know that these people get off on having power over others. I'm not looking to have power over others. I was talking with a good friend of mine on the weekend. It was 4 in the morning. We were hanging out after a big night. The topic turned to Ebola, and they told me that they could see that it was all fabricated. It was all a lie. It was all a hoax. They were asking, what can we do about this? And I went on to explain to them why I'm against the government. I asked them, would you agree that for someone to cause violence against someone else, that is immoral, that's wrong? And of course they agreed. Then I said, well, the government commits violence against people every day. They drop bombs against children halfway across the world. They arrest people. They assault people. They sexually molest people with their strip searches, their cavity searches. They commit violence every day. The government. So, by definition, the government is immoral, and it is my mission, my life's work, my destiny to take them down. And peacefully, of course. All of you ASIO people watching this, looking for someone to be the next terror threat, you got the wrong guy. I'm all about the peace. You're the ones working for a terrorist organization. And I really hope that you see that for the sake of your children, for the sake of your family. I explained to my friend that government is immoral and government needs to be removed for people to be free and happy. And they wouldn't accept that. They said, well, what about the roads? I use the roads every day. I need the roads. See, people like this who are dependent upon the government don't even want to think about the possibility that people will be building roads long after the government's gone. They want to complain about Ebola, or they want to complain about unjust war, but they're happy to pay taxes to fund those wars. What all of us need to understand is we need to remove ourselves from this evil, corrupt system. This system that wants to destroy humanity. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes it gets really tough and really mentally draining. And really sometimes I think, what the hell am I doing standing here screaming into a video camera, hoping that someone will listen to what I'm talking about, hoping that people will understand that they are at risk. I think, what am I doing here? And in some darker moments, I consider, what's the point? What am I going to do? They got all the media organizations in the world. They got all the guns in the world. They got all the energy. They got all the resources. I'm one man. But then I realize that the alternative is not something that I'm going to deal with. I'm not going to deal with a 1984 Brave New World dystopian scenario. I will not deal with that. I am going to go out swinging. You'd better believe that I will not allow this murderous government to continue. I'm going to bring about revolution. And you're doing it with me. That's why you've tuned in. And I appreciate that. I appreciate your support. But it's time to step it up. It's time to remove yourself from all of these government controls, all of these tentacles that have gripped us. We need to extricate ourselves from them. We need to spread this message. I have faith in victory. And I've said this before, more importantly than faith, I'm putting action behind my faith. Even when I feel discouraged, even when I feel like there's no point to it, I'm still here doing it. And I know that this ripple that I'm throwing across the internet is going to cause many waves. And it'll spark someone's mind. And they will spark someone else's mind. And this will go on continually. And eventually, I believe that we will reach a tipping point where so many people can see through the government's lies because they're becoming so much more obvious, that we will win the revolution. I know that we're going to win. I know that we will defeat evil. And I believe and declare that together, you and I will crush the new world order. Subscribe to this channel, like this, share this, spread this far and wide. The revolution is here. Woo!